now, Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on the you get it on now. Oh, I have suggestions for Sean Duffy about transportation.
No, I was going to say you shouldn't have any suggestions to him about procreation because he's got that under control.
9 kids.
More than me.
More than you. Yeah, but collectively, yours way more.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I'm
just being mean. I can't help it. You know,
Maybe.
I have thoughts. I have mean thoughts.
Collectively, I might weigh more. I don't know. His wife is beautiful and tiny.
Oh, she's Maria Campos Duffy, or is it Campos?
Rachel.
Rachel Campos
Rachel
Duffy.
Campos Duffy.
Rachel Campos. Well, I got 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
She looks like a Maria, is what I'm saying. You disagree?
I don't know. Maybe one of their children is named Maria.
Oh no, she looks kind of like Hispanic or something. I don't know.
Like a little Latina vibe.
Well, Campos is.
Yes, that's true. Tis true.
Yeah, what's
Maybe
Rachel
her middle
Campos
name is Maria.
Duffy or something? And she looks very. She has a dark, a swarthy look,
Olive-toned.
very olive
Yes.
toned look. All right, so she looks like she has some Latina in her, but we can figure that one out. Either way, good-looking couple, lots of kids, smart guy. Adults back in the room. Buttigieg out, worrying about racist bridges.
Seriously? That guy thinks he's going to run for president again.
He's such a douche. He's such a racist. I just, the fact that he's transportation secretary, I'll tell you where, well, first off, where he lost me. He lost me at his paternity leave for his adopted kid.
Oh, yeah.
Did we get into that? I didn't get into that
no,
on
but
this
don't
show,
even get
did
me
I?
started.
But here's what I'm saying, everybody. I was yelling this at Drew. I don't think I was yelling at you. Now, see, what happens is Drew comes in here, we do some shows, I yell a bunch of shit at him, and then 3 days later I go, did I yell that at you or was I yelling at Drew? Okay.
Well, you do often tell me that I get on your nerves in the same way that Drew does, so maybe we're just morphing into the same person at this point.
It was a weird thing. It used to happen to me all the time. It doesn't happen to me anymore. When I got agitated at somebody, I would yell Drew at them, which meant I was used to yelling that at Drew. So I might be having an argument with my buddy Ray, and at some point he'd get me agitated, and I'd go, Drew, shut up! But I
So
wasn't
if you
arguing
ever
with
yelled,
Drew.
Drew, shut up at me,
I might.
I'm really agitated you.
The day is young. So here's all I want you people to kind of vibe on, if you just want to know. People say, you're getting rid of all these, the money, the federal money. It's not going to Minnesota. These people are going to go hungry, whatever. And I keep telling everyone, cut off the money. Let's see if anyone dies of hunger, because no one ever dies of hunger, because we've done this weird thing where they're
churches
like,
step up.
They don't want people to eat. I grew up poor. I grew up so poor, and you just figured out a way.
You still got bologna sandwiches.
Yeah, although my mom wouldn't do that, but yeah. No, we went to a church for spaghetti night.
Yep.
The church would have spaghetti night,
Yep.
and we would go wait in line and go eat free spaghetti.
Everybody was talking about local charities and churches are having to step up. And I'm like, yeah, it turns out that's what they're there for, and they do it way better than the government.
Right. Well, the government funding closed 3 months ago, and kids were going to go hungry, but no one went hungry, and everyone's fat, and shut the fuck up. And my thing is they say we need to police all these expenditures. Like all these programs need to be policed. The after-school lunch program and the lunch program that takes place during the summer that the school provides because the kids don't get the free lunch because they're on summer breaks. Like, my thing is, you've got to get rid of the fucking programs because you cannot police this many programs, and it's always the waste and the fraud is going to be baked into every program because it's human nature. But here's my point. Pete Buttigieg, who is a dude with a cock and balls, got one of the most important jobs in the United States.
Yep.
Transportation secretary. Now, look, you can go, well, there's president, vice president. I don't know. In a weird way, probably more important than vice president if your vice president is
Because
Kamala.
that's his sole job.
Yeah, and Vice President Kamala is just showing up at charging stations and glad-handing people. And
The vice president's job is to be there if, heaven forbid, something happens to the president and or to just shill for the president.
Yeah, and photo ops, reading children's books at the school and whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine. But he's in charge of airports and everything else. Okay. So Pete Buttigieg, who has one of the most important jobs in the United States, gets sworn in and then immediately takes a paternity leave for 3 months. Now, paternity, meaning he's gay, he's got a gay partner, and either they adopted or they used a surrogate, but
Neither of them had to recover from a dinner plate-sized hole in their abdomen.
Neither had a C-section
Yeah.
to deal with. Pete Buttigieg took advantage of that leave and went home.
And by the way, nobody really noticed till he came back.
Right, but my point, and you, Dawes, you can look it up, but I mean, he was Secretary of Transportation for 10 minutes before he took that. It wasn't like it was year number 3 he did it.
No.
He just got in and then
early on.
hung out for a week and said, I'm going home.
Yep.
And he didn't go home for a long weekend.
No.
Now, listen, I had twins. I didn't have them. But in this case, I had them as much as Pete had them. I had like I took 2 days off or 1 day off, and then I went back to work.
I would say even more so because your wife had them and needed your help around the house. Or like, you know what I mean? For people that aren't Pete Buttigieg who can't pay for hired help to come in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Sometimes a dad does need paternity leave so he can take care of mom in the house. How long was he in?
He took it in mid-August 2021 after he and his husband, Chasten, adopted twins. All right, so he adopted
So he was
twins.
in the job for 7 months.
Yes, first year. He did not get through the first year, and he went home. And he was at home for months. But here's my whole point, and I want to know how long he was at home for.
It says several weeks. It was 2 full months. I thought it was closer to 3. But then he also was caught working remote, too. That was the other thing, is he was like, well, I can work from anywhere.
All right, here's my whole point. He took advantage of the system, essentially. They said, if you don't want to, you don't have to go home for 2 months. You're Secretary of Transportation. It'd be nice to have you in the office.
Yeah.
And he took advantage of it with adopted kids. My point is now I'm a poor Somali person who's living in obscurity in Minneapolis. I will take advantage of that system as well. Everyone will take advantage of the system. I've said it a million times. I don't like it. Maybe you've done it. Every woman, most women and some guys, more than some guys, but most women, when I go, oh, you're buying a brand new dress for one night. When I go, I'll just return it when I'm done. And I go, you can't do that.
That's dishonest. I don't do that.
You don't do it. I go, all right, I'm an atheist.
Rent the Runway is for.
I'm an atheist. And I go, no, that's ripping off the company. That's not right. And they go, let's just do it. You know what I mean?
No.
People will go buy, we need a monitor. They'll get it from Best Buy, use it for one thing, and then return it to Best Buy. Oh, yeah. And I just go,
it's dishonest.
Here's the point. Almost everyone is capable of this behavior.
Of poor behavior?
Yes, dishonest.
Okay.
If I'm in a room of 10 people, I go, you can't buy a dress, wear it out, and then return it. And they go, why not? Yes, you can. And then some point they go, I buy so much shit from Amazon. Come on, give me a break.
Oh, because it's a big bad corporation. Is that what it is? Like they can handle it?
It's more like, listen, when somebody did this with like Best Buy, the guy was a like commercial AV installer, whatever. He just goes, I do, so much business. I don't even know if it was Best Buy, Costco or whatever. It's like, I throw so much business their way, they can cut me this or whatever. And I was kind of like, all right, if most people buy one big screen every 5 years, you buy 28 big screens a year. All right. And then you borrow one and you return it. Like I wrapped my mind around it. But the point is this. Pete Buttigieg is one of the most important jobs. First year, goes home for no fucking reason to hang out with adopted kids and his dumb husband. Okay. He's willing to do it. Everyone else I know is willing to take their dog to the airport, get a note from their doctor for glaucoma so they can get pot,
wear the be a lap animal,
buy a dress and turn the dress back in.
Yeah.
We are capable of exploiting systems. We need to get rid of the systems. There's too many systems. It shall be exploited. We have to roll the systems back. It's not policing the system. By the way, how many people do you have to police all these NGOs and all these after programs and all these health and if
how
kids
many prosecutors are currently being tied up investigating Somali fraud?
There's not enough human beings to police the billions of dollars that are flying in every direction. I mean, you have a limited number of like accountants and forensic accountants and prosecutors and courtrooms and like how much manpower does it fucking take to oversee all this stuff?
Yeah.
My thing is get rid of the program. Here's my program. Make your kids lunch. And by the way, if you can't do that, then we'll take the kids. Because if you can't feed your kids, that's number one.
We can help you get a job, do all those other things.
We can help you get a job.
But once again, circling back to community does that better than government.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And community tends to have more accountability and follow-up than government.
I would say. All right.
Now I'm craving spaghetti. Let's do a spaghetti night.
Free spaghetti. We waited in that line. And by the way, we didn't really totally need it. I mean, we weren't technically like destitute poor. We were just basic poor. And by the way, my mom was poor because she was lazy and didn't really want to get her shit together, go to work or anything. Like she was kind of self-imposed poor. You know, most poor is kind of self-imposed. You can go work.
Yeah.
There's plenty of work out there.
Or there are people that are probably considered poor that they're living paycheck to paycheck given like cost of living or situation.
Listen, I had roommates the whole time I was poor. I had like the futon and I shared a futon with a guy. My first roommate. I've had 3 guys in a 1-bedroom in North Hollywood for a while. Was lots of, boiling a bunch of hard-boiled eggs and buying a sack of apples and like taking them to work with me for lunch and stuff. Like I couldn't.
Egg is pretty good though. I was thinking you were going to say like 99-cent ramen.
Well, I was on a construction site.
Yeah.
So you kind of had to pack in your own food.
Yeah.
It always depended. Sometimes you'd be on a construction site where someone could make a McDonald's run, and then other times you were up in the hills somewhere, and it was like you just brought your own. And I was too lazy to make a sandwich.
I just remembered a story. Some friends of ours in Encino were remodeling, and the wife came in, and she realized that the guys that were remodeling were using her daughter's like easy bake oven to heat up their tortillas.
Their tortillas, what? Jewish guys? Japanese. Listen, when I worked with, my born-again Christian guys at Always Better Closets, installing closets. These were like just former gangbangers who found Jesus Christ. And,
my kind of people.
And they'd come in, Frank and Big John and all these guys. And I told everyone I have eaten cactus that he'd show up with a Tupperware filled with brown mush. It looked like beef stew. And then a stack of tortillas, because you can get a 3-inch thick stack of tortillas for like 99 cents.
Yeah.
And then we'd sit around at lunch and he'd deal them out, like want some tortilla. And I'd eat that tortilla. So what the kind of chicken is this and this thing? He goes, cactus. It's cactus. I go, well, who sells cactus? He just points at the hill. Yeah. Points at the hill in Burbank because he dispatched his wife with a machete.
Really?
Go get the cactus. Cook it up with the bouillon cubes.
Yeah.
But here's my whole point. You can eat when you're poor.
Yeah.
Now you have to try a little.
Yep.
But that's all I ever did.
Yep.
That's all everyone I knew ever did.
And we worked.
And we worked. Yeah. Yes, we worked. And then we ate. And my mom didn't really want to work. So she wanted to get, the free spaghetti.
Yeah.
So we got the free spaghetti. But by the way, the free spaghetti thing was like once in a blue moon. It's not like every night you just go to the church.
No, it's like usually there's a set day of the week.
And also, I would just leave and go eat at my friend's house all the time. That's what I would do.
I have a girlfriend that was her childhood. Just like hopping around from house to house eating because mom and dad weren't around.
That's all I did was eat at other
Yeah.
people's. What you do is you'd play with the kid for a while until like 5 o'clock, and then at some
There's a
point
strategy.
you'd start smelling like a pork chop coming from the
Ooh.
kitchen, and then you'd go. They go, we got to eat pretty soon. You go, oh, what are you eating there? Pork chops? And they go, yeah, we're doing pork chops. And you go, oh, maybe I'll. And then at some point, hopefully, the mom would go like, yeah, just stay. The
mom knew.
Yeah, I think the mom knew.
Moms have good radar.
Yeah, Barbara Boehm knew.
She knew what was up.
Yeah, and Irene Oldhofer knew.
Oldhofer, that's a great
Oh, she could cook German, man.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome.
Little schnitzel.
Whatever she cooked, man, I just devoured that shit. And Ray, her son, ate a lot. And I was like, I'm eating a lot too, so let's do this.
Pluto TV has thousands of free movies and TV shows.
What? This is the mindset. Free. This is the mantra. Free. This is the mindset.
With movies like Joe Dirt, Pixels, and 50 First Dates.
This is awesome.
And TV shows like Survivor, SpongeBob SquarePants, The Fairly Odd Parents, and Ghosts. Pluto TV is always free.
Huzzah!
Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
You're welcome.
Morgan & Morgan. There's a reason Tom Brady's got 7 rings. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Over $20 billion recovered for more than 500,000 clients. That's not a slogan. That is results. In one Florida case, insurance offered $350K. Client walked away with $12 million. They've been doing this for 35 years, fighting for the people. And last I checked, you're the people. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, for the people, not the powerful. Right, Dawson?
If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/Adam or dial pound law, pound 529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/Adam or pound law, pound 529 from your cell. This is a paid advertisement.
All right. So I want to get your opinion on something.
Okay.
Scott Adams, as we know,
Yeah.
passed. Scott was a great guy, and Scott was a thinker. Scott was a real interesting guy. And basically, the way the left works is they inhabit all of the writing assignments for all the magazines
Yes.
and all the news weeks and all the
Yes.
whatever. So when I make a comment about COVID that's controversial, Newsweek has to jump on it with one of their dumb shit writers and write a bunch of lies or stuff that turned out to be lies later on. But that's how they go. Now, these same people have no idea who Scott Adams is in terms of his content. The same way they didn't have any idea about Charlie Kirk, who Charlie Kirk was. They don't have any idea who Dennis Prager is. They don't understand that these people are intellectuals. They're thoughtful and thought-provoking. They're God-fearing. They're like family-oriented. They're good, solid tax-paying citizens.
They just didn't come up with their thought process or beliefs overnight. Like it's
Right.
something specifically with Prager and Scott took decades
Yes.
of life and wisdom,
Life
and relationship,
and reading and
yep.
talking and conversing and exploring thoughts, exploring ideas, and then arriving at conclusions and places. All right, but the dumb shit at People Magazine is never going to look into their body of work.
Of course
ever,
not.
ever.
They're just looking at the most controversial thing they might have said.
And they're just not on the left.
Yeah.
There's somebody who's not with them, and their horrible ideas about transgender or gay rights or LGBT or the border or whatever fakakta nonsense that they subscribe to with climate change or open borders or tax the rich or whatever, burn Elon's dealerships, like whatever dumb shit you idiots are doing, Dennis Prager and many others are too smart to go along with your horse shit.
Yep.
And so there's two groups that go along with the horse shit. There's the dumb shits who go along with the horse shit, and then there's the people in Hollywood who are scared because they want to work again, so they pretend to go along with the horse shit so they can work.
Yeah.
All right. So then somebody dies. And then somebody's got to handle the news and the obit and what happened. And the person for People magazine, but it would be the same for any rag, they always give it to the angriest 34-year-old chick out there. And then she has no idea who he is. And then so she writes, Scott Adams, disgraced Dilbert creator, dies at 68.
Wow.
Now, disgraced, right? Then the people that are Scott Adams fans, which are many, although she's not aware of any of them because she's never spoken to anyone who likes Scott Adams because she's at the lesbian parade all day, right? So she doesn't know anybody who likes that. They're always surprised. Like, oh, I've never met anyone who wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton. Like, there are a bunch of smart people out there that you guys will not expose yourself to.
Yeah. I was just looking for a post because this reminded me of a meme I saw earlier, and it was like on one side, it was like a former ISIS leader, and it was like the title about him after he died was esteemed Islamic
sure.
like scholar.
Right.
Passes at 72, passes because the IDF like killed him or something versus what they had said about Scott Adams. And it wasn't even People. It was like the New York Times or something else.
Right.
Talked about his unhinged rants in 2023.
Right. So the weird legacy. And then I know, when I die, this bitch's younger sister will just write racist, misogynist, Adam Carolla dies. The end. You know what I mean? Like that'll be it.
Yeah.
And that's how what they love to do is they love to weave in some controversy. But the problem with the controversy is like when you write the obit on Harvey Weinstein or Bill Cosby, then you would be right to work that controversial in there. Scott Adams didn't rape anyone or get caught in some sort of molestation triangle or something.
He never drugged women.
He didn't do anything.
Yeah,
What he did is he dared to have opinions that were different than yours.
Yep.
But you're in charge of writing it. So then, and I don't know how you feel about this, then the internet just started putting her picture everywhere, calling her fat pig.
Oh, no.
And then she had to take her name off, and then they kept putting her name back on. So the internet reacted hard. Now, I don't really like the doxing stuff and the weight shaming and the all that kind of stuff.
It doesn't win anybody over to your side.
But if you're going to be sort of inherently cruel, then here's all I'm saying.
I think what happens is you push people to a point that even if she hasn't been consistently inherently cruel to Scott Adams and his fans, there's a group of the internet that just is constantly hit and seeing horrible cruelty, whether it was after Charlie's murder or Scott Adams' death or Dennis Prager's accident, like all this stuff. And like, it's just like they feel so shit on all the time that they feel the need to defend themselves. Right?
Yeah, my take is she drew first blood. And while I don't appreciate, you can find some of the comments out there, Andrew, I don't appreciate, the fat shaming and whatever, the doxing and all that kind of stuff. Show a little decorum. The guy just died. You may not have been a fan, but he had many. And you chose to put the word disgraced in there for no reason. And now you're getting disgraced because there's a bunch of pictures of you looking fat and dumb on the internet, and everyone's making fun of you, which I kind of like in that I hope you slow your fucking roll next time you're going to do this kind of thing. And also, where's your fucking editor? Like, are there any adults in this building who could just look at this and go, look, the guy died 9 hours ago. He has a family. You're not going to write disgraced on there. He didn't do anything.
This is why I'm against the doxing of a woman like this, is she's not the only person to blame. She probably did this because, one, it's what she thinks, and two, because it's what she thinks her bosses want from her. Right?
I get it.
To use a word of the left, it is a systemic problem within the echelons and the leadership and the powers at play at People magazine that enable her to do this.
Yes.
So, yes, it is her decision to do it, but she is also hankering for a paycheck and an article to get posted. And she's like, yeah, I'll do the obit. I haven't had a piece in a week. This is the thing I was talking about.
Right.
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, a austere religious scholar at the helm of Islamic State, ISIS, terrorist group ISIS, that one, dies at 48.
Scott Adams, disgraced Dilbert creator. I know they're so morally bankrupt that they cannot draw a distinction between these. But also, if, let's just say, Mark Ruffalo died, I wouldn't dispatch Donald Trump Jr. to write his obit. You know what I mean? Because I would go, that's not going to end up like a thoughtful. But I wouldn't put this person in that position. I would know that person's not going to write a good obit about this person. You know the chick with 15 different. You know her politics. And you know Scott Adams' politics.
But they don't
Why
care.
is she? I know they don't care, but expect this to happen. Is what I'm saying. And I'm sort of happy for it in that you get what you get. You said something really shitty about a dead person, and now people are making you feel bad on the internet. And
I don't know that she's going to learn her lesson.
I think she. I think she will. In that,
I think she's just going to blame it on.
No, here's my whole point. There's two ways you can learn a lesson. You can have some sort of moral reckoning, which she's never going to do.
That's not true. You can plant little seeds. It can happen. So you know that
she's not going to have a moral reckoning. My daughter spit in the face of her nanny when she was 2, and her nanny smacked her. And she's never spit on anyone. Now, my daughter didn't have a moral reckoning. She got smacked.
Okay.
And she shut up and she stopped spitting on people.
Yep.
This chick's getting smacked right now. And she may not be learning a lesson, but she's going to think long and hard if Dennis Prager passes and she has to go write that headline. She's going to think, I know, knock on wood. No, I'm just picking somebody who's conservative. The point is
a big name.
She's going to have to think long and hard because she doesn't want to get dragged through the internet again. And there's two lessons you can learn. There's a moral reckoning, and then there's a slap in the face, and she doesn't want to do that. These posts are
she has
protected.
protected posts now.
She has protected
I
posts
think,
now.
did she have the Miss Piggy profile picture up beforehand, though? Maybe she's in on the joke a little bit. She's like, okay, if you're going to call me Miss Piggy, I'll put up the Miss Piggy pic. I'm just saying, as a person who is fine with disciplining children, not smacking them on the face, but, you know, that I think that, yes, she might pause, but she will also continue to build a case against conservatives
100%,
Scott
but she's
Adams
not
type
writing
people and make herself a victim instead of being retrospective and thinking about what could I have done differently or what did I do wrong.
100%. She's never going to write another horrible headline about a conservative because she got it.
Or the alternative is she feels like a victim. She feels like she was justified. And she doubles down and just to please her own.
Not in the headline department, I don't think. But she's getting dragged through the internet. She doesn't like. There's 1,000 pictures calling her fat ass, and she hates it. All right. Let me just tell you something on a happier note.
Okay.
I got a buck slip, I'm happy to say. Everyone get a buck slip. It's the greatest. A little stiff. I have them. I use them all the time. They're probably, I'm eyeballing it. They're 4 inches wide and about 9 or 10 inches long.
Yeah.
And they're awesome because they got a little heft and you can ride on them. I got a buck slip and it says, Ace, nearly spit my coffee out this morning when you were talking about, God, some people with their penmanship, talking to Jason about legal California companies sell gift certificates and then not honor them. It was illegal for that in California. Anyway, meanwhile, here in North Carolina, I've been clinging to a P.F. Chang's gift card like it's a family heirloom. I got it almost 3 years ago and want you to have it. I want to send it to you. It's tough to read. Anyway. Your comments today reminded me I still had it, so I thought I'd mail it to you as a Christmas gift. Get it on. And I guess this is from Chris Johnson, because that's what it says at the bottom of the buck slip. Point is,
you're taking me out to lunch?
Yeah, I love P.F. Chang's, and I want to thank Chris. It's belated because it's been a minute, but he sent me this, and I'm definitely taking advantage of it. And also, if anyone wants to know my wiring, these buck slips, I'm not throwing it away because I can write notes on the back side of the buck.
Yep.
I even got I got white buck slips and light blue buck slips. And white buck slips are jokes and creative, and the light blue ones are the list of life. The things, the hardware
the things to
store,
do.
the things to do.
Interesting.
All right. You have some news there, Alicia KRAUSS?
I have some news, and I don't know if I should intro this or just roll the tape, man, because this one is so good. Did you hear about Donald Trump going to Michigan at a Ford plant over the last couple of days?
I did hear about that. I saw my friend Jim Farley, who runs a thing, who looks just like Chris Farley, who's related to Chris Farley.
All right. So originally TMZ had this video. Now it's gone everywhere. But President Trump flipped the bird at a person who shouted that he was a pedophile protector during a Tuesday trip to a Ford plant in Michigan. A clearly irritated president pointed and twice-mouthed F you from an elevated platform at the heckler. He then extended his middle finger.
Sorry, we're there. Like, we're just there in terms of I'm watching Jacob Fry, Mayor of Minneapolis, on Anderson Cooper, and he's like, I will say it once, I'll say it again. Fuck ICE.
Yeah.
Fuck ICE. It's like, okay, you weren't supposed to be able to do this.
And now everybody does it.
And nobody cares. This is all the parsley on the side of the plate of life, which is every time you go to a diner in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, it came with a sprig of parsley.
Yep.
And then everyone would go, why do we need this parsley? I go, because it has to have it. And then at some point it left, and then nobody cared.
Yep.
And it was like, I started off my career, them going, listen, you can say boobs, but you can't say tits. Now, Bob, where are we at with tatas? You can say ta, but not tatas. Like, I was on Comedy Central. They were literally told me once, say women's underwear, but don't say women's underpants. And I didn't know. They had weird rules. Lots of rules. But the point is now everyone just says whatever the fuck they want. They just cuss away, and it's cable. Like nobody.
It's insane.
And nobody cares.
Yep.
And every mayor, and I mean, you see these mayors, like, the Lakers win the playoffs, and they're doing they win the championship, and they're doing the parade, and then the mayor just gets up there, and is like,
Garcetti.
fuck the Celtics. Fuck, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
weirdo.
We used to have decorum.
Yes.
Well, apparently the guy that was yelling at him is a 40-year-old United Auto Workers Local 600 line worker at that Ford factory. His name is TJ Sabula, and he said he was an independent and has, quote, no regrets whatsoever. I don't feel as though fate looks upon you often, and when it does, you better be ready to seize the opportunity. That sounds like Michael Jordan going into an NBA playoff game. And today, I think I did that. He said that it was a reference to the Justice Department's slow release of the files of the notorious late sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. The White House was asked for comment on this, and I pulled it up because I found it hilarious. White House comms director Stephen Chung said in a statement, quote, a lunatic was wildly screaming expletives in a complete fit of rage, and the president gave an appropriate and unambiguous response.
Can we play it?
Yeah.
That's him. Well, we're there.
My favorite comment was somebody on Instagram was like, I love this about Trump, but Melania doesn't. And he's going to get an earful when he gets home.
Yeah.
She prefers it when he acts like a gentleman. I think. Also, at this same speech, this was the best. He was imitating Joe. He was doing a speech on the economy and making America great again. And then he talked about GDP expectations and how it was better than Biden. And then he just went on a riff about Joe Biden.
There we go.
You ever notice Joe would always cough before a speech? State of the Union, he gets, ladies and gentlemen. And then it would be like very short. Although the one time they had him spruced up pretty good. Remember, he was high as a kite.
I'll tell you, there's a thing that you have to be careful of a little bit. And also, fuck Joe Biden. I mean, that guy tried to put this guy in jail, maybe almost got him killed with a bullet. Biden's a horrible guy. He's corrupt. His family's corrupt. He's an insane narcissist, and he hurt this country. So you can say whatever you want about Joe Biden. He's just a race hustler and a liar. But anyway.
Anything else?
Other than that, I'm a big fan. He's a horrible president, but he was also a race hustler. He just said, anyway, he's horrible for this country. Anyway, and he's totally corrupt. But Trump and anyone, people have to be careful of this. and I'll tell you how it works. People who aren't comedians and not traditional comedians, especially when they're in roles like rabbis, you know what I mean? Or anyone delivering a eulogy, or anyone like a school teacher. Like, remember when homeschool. Us regular folk. You guys remembered your one funny teacher, but your one funny teacher wasn't really funny. He was just funny for a school teacher. He'd be like, "Hey, Carolla, you're awesome. Sometimes you're good and sometimes you're bad." Like stupid, corny jokes, you know what I mean? But he'd be the funny one. And Trump has this captive audience, and Trump is...
He loves to perform.
Super funny for a president, but not necessarily super funny for a comedian.
Yep.
But everyone's going to laugh super hard because you don't expect a principal or president or the gym coach to be funny, like, or the priest or the rabbi. Like, they can always get a big laugh.
Yep.
So you have to be careful because it gets easy. And then you can start just sort of doing a lot of material because they're always going to be laughing. And like, it's a kind of a thing where comedians, and I'm this way too, you can go travel the country and play to sold out rooms that are all your audience. And then you walk out and it's real easy. But what you need to do is pop up at the Comedy Store on a Wednesday night or whatever and do 15 minutes because that's not your audience. They're not there to see you.
Yep.
And then you get a real feel of how your material is working with folk that aren't there necessarily to see you.
Yeah.
But Trump always is like that comedian that always has his audience. You know what I mean?
Or also, I think with a pastor or a politician, you're also going to get the awe factor. That even though clearly there were some people at this Ford plant that weren't fans of his, the vast majority of the people are his fans, so he can do no wrong. So when they're looking at him through that perspective, when he's like, "Hey, everything's cheaper this year," even though it isn't, they're like, "Yeah, it's cheaper." And when he talks about how crappy Biden is, they're like, "Yeah, he's crappy." Or when he does the Biden impersonation, they think it's hilarious because it's your team and we're all inclined at a human level to like, "Hoorah, our team."
Yeah, you need to get your art judged by a critic, not a fan. Sometimes. We have Philly DA Larry Krasner trying to get some media heat saying F. Not fun.
Oh, I remember this one. Yep.
Let's see what he sounds like.
If any law enforcement agent, any ICE agent, is going to come to Philly to commit crimes, then you can get the F out of here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he didn't even say
man.
it. That's like me.
So,
That's the
hold
little
on.
me saying, "You can get the F out of here." No, you got to say it, man. Come on.
So he's saying,
Man up.
if you're from ICE
Yes.
and you just decide to go rogue and go to Philly and commit crimes, like robbing liquor stores or something, then you can
I think
leave.
he means shooting innocent people, which is the leftist narrative of what happened in Minneapolis. But also,
But
like,
you should go there and then leave or not go at all.
good question.
Because he said if you're going to come here, you should leave.
Yeah, if you're going to come here to commit crimes.
Then you need to leave.
But Ilhan Omar and AOC think that all that ICE is doing is unconstitutional and crime committing. So he's telling them not to do their jobs within the city of Philadelphia.
I don't know. Well, here's the entire. I mean, let me explain something. And sorry what the chick think stuff, but we're there. We're there. I mean, women are going nuts, but the problem with women and some guys is if you let's just say you're in a relationship, you know what I mean, and somebody goes, I'm going to pull up my car. Your husband is going to pull up his car in front of the garage so he can unload groceries and bring them into the house. Well, if that's what he's doing, but you say this guy pulls up in front of the garage, blocks me in the garage, and then just goes into the house, if that's what you're saying he's doing, then he is a bad guy.
Yep.
And his actions are wrong.
Yeah.
So Ilhan Omar and all the nutty chicks on the squad are just like, these people come into town, they don't answer to anybody, they come in unmarked vans, they start grabbing citizens and disappearing them.
Yeah.
And then they put them in gulag.
Tim Waltz was saying the same thing.
Yeah, they put them in sweatshops in Honduras. It's like, okay, well, if any of that happened ever, then that'd be bad.
Yep.
Except for none of that happens. But if you're working on the premise that that's what's going on, then you're married to a bad guy who blocks you in the garage. Now, I say the guy pulled up, and maybe the guy could have parked on the street and carried the groceries up into the house, but it was so much closer to pull up in front of the garage, but ended up blocking you in the garage, which you didn't like, but he was doing it because you're performing a service and a task.
Yep.
So you want to characterize it as this maniac just pulls up and blocks me in the garage, and I got to pick up the kids, and now I can't get out of the garage. Well, then that sounds like a bad guy, and it sounds like he should not do that. Now, if you characterized it as you assholes left the border open, Congress made laws, and we're just applying those laws using force, essentially, like a police force would do. We're taking, criminals and sometimes pedophiles and gangbangers and murderers, and we're removing them from these societies where they're terrorizing people, well, then that makes me sound better.
Yep.
But they never will do that.
Heaven forbid.
But their problem is always hyperbole, because I stop listening to them.
You stop listening to them, though.
Right,
But if you're the
but not the
average,
dumb-
if
not
you're
the
the
crazy
average
women.
voter
Right.
who's just listening to a snippet of the news on your favorite country station while you're driving to work at a factory, or you're a stay-at-home mom that's listening to a brief podcast to tell you what's up, the narrative is so tainted.
I totally agree, but listen, everybody, can you please have a little intellectual honesty and read between the lines a little bit? You think these guys are pulling up in unmarked vans, grabbing citizens, and taking them to a gulag. Do you really? And also, how does that benefit them or the president? You're just grabbing guys
Joy
could
Behar
have
said that
voted for Trump.
Yeah.
It's going to end up in a gulag. First off, this is going to end up in a lot of lawsuits if you're just grabbing dudes who are walking their dogs and sending them to sweat camps.
Did you hear about them apparently going to like electric car charging stations and questioning people? And
No.
I was like, and they were like, this is targeting of a hardworking community. They're trying to target like Uber drivers or something.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, okay, what?
Yeah, to your point, Adam, is people's hatred for one man has rendered them completely incapable of critical thought.
I get it, but you're college educated, you speak for a living, and you share news and ideas with an audience. You
Exactly.
should be a little critical. But listen, everybody has to do this all the time because there's a micro and a macro version of this. I used to have to do it with Drew all the time. Drew's a little bit of a hysteric, which is weird.
Because he's emotionally in tune with, I think, how things affect him and other people.
It would happen all the time. He'd go, I was walking through the airport, and this woman runs at me screaming in my face. And I'd go, she wasn't screaming in your face. She was screaming. I go, okay, Drew, she didn't run at you and start screaming. Well, okay, but she definitely raised her voice a little, critiqued, whatever. But I had to keep telling them that didn't happen. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Somebody has to explain to these people when they're talking about disappearing citizens. Someone has to just go, okay, listen, we don't like what they're doing. And maybe they've crossed the line legally, but whatever it is you're saying is happening is not happening.
Yes. You're saying it's a 10, and it's not a 10.
I have a clip because, my theory is always that women are going insane. They've all been weaponized. Most of it, not all been weaponized.
By
but
white liberal men.
Right, but all the women that are doing most of the scuffling and most of the battling out there, it seems like mostly women, which is insane.
Well, you know why, right?
They hate their dads.
No, it's from these Race to Dinner, Joy Reid, Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg, like all of these leftist people, Ilhan Omar, AOC, that have been telling white women for the last decade, hey guys, you're part of the problem because you haven't spoken up. So now it's your time to speak up because your voices are going to be listened to more, and we don't like white men, so we need white women as allies.
Right.
So therefore, we're going to have George Soros adjacent organizations train you in how to be these crazy radicals and hinder ICE in their job. And then it makes all of the white women feel guilty and shamed and embarrassed for how America is systemically horrible to people of color and immigrants and yada, yada. And then it weaponizes them to do stupid things, and it makes all women look bad.
And the great thing about Joy Reid is she's such a race hustler that she's like, well, now black women can't do it because they'll just be hunted down and killed. We need white women to do it. And white women won't get shot. It's like,
shot, she said.
Yeah, hey, bitch.
Happens, yeah.
She just got shot. A white chick and her white friend. That's what a race hustler Joy Reid is. And also how she doesn't adhere to any sort of gravity or truth or any coherence of nothing. She's just 100% bullshit all the time.
But if you're a millennial woman, whether you're, let's say, independent or of the left, and you are told this for 10 years by people that you deem to be the truth tellers.
Yes. But also,
then, of course, you're going to be brainwashed to do these things.
It also helps to hate your dad. It helps.
I'll
play a clip. Oh, it all goes back to that. Everything goes back to that. No reverence for Pops.
Are these ladies looking for a new type of exercise? Psychiatrists are telling Primetime that these women have deep-rooted anger issues, and immigration agents are just an excuse for a punching bag.
You know, one thing that hating men has trained me for is literally trained me for chasing ICE cars off of my street, 5 of them right now, following them down the neighborhood, honking, blowing whistles, telling them to off. All that rage that I have felt towards men is coming out. I have been trained for this moment.
She has. She hates her dad.
The rage that I have felt.
She hates her daddy. There's a lot of this. By the way, a lot of broken families, a lot of dads abandoning, lots of hatred for dad, lots of daddy issues.
Critical thought would say, let's arrest the people who are raping and killing women.
They're worse than the ICE officers.
But also, there's another thing that I keep getting back to, which is life used to be very tactile and practical. You know, it was very much get up when the sun comes up, go milk the cow with the thing, you know, go harvest the eggs. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, you didn't do it right, you'd freeze. Yeah. And you wouldn't have food for the winter and stuff like that.
And there was like cohesion because everybody relied on each other. Like Pa Wilder was out hunting and in the fields, and Ma Wilder was at home keeping the fire stoked and baking all the pies. And
Gene Wilder was acting like some kind of homo.
Do you not get the Little House on the Prairie reference? Homeschooled.
I was.
Nobody got the Little House on the Prairie
I
reference?
was talking about the guy who ended up in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
The only version I will watch. The only Willy Wonka that's good.
No, I was the guy who made a Little House on the Prairie reference when we were doing, oh, God. You can find it. I was doing a thing with Barry Weiss in Austin, and I made the Little House on the Prairie reference, and I watched the shit out of that show. But my point is everyone had a job, everyone was engaged, but there was a practicality that is baked in with a way of living, and so all the guys I know who build for a living have a kind of a logic, because your thoughts and your feelings don't really factor into structure and engineering. It's like you can hope and think and whatever, you can talk. First off, you can talk all you want. It's never going to get built.
Yep.
So there's an action part of it. Secondly,
You can want it to look
Right.
the way, and it's not going to happen. Yeah.
there's a real sort of mechanically brass tacks of when you work in a mill and
Yeah.
you work around blades and blah, blah, blah. So there's it's all baked in. And women had their version of that. I mean, they may have not been going to the mill, but they're baking and slaughtering, plucking chickens and wringing their necks and making stew and stuff like that. There's a real order and a mechanical sort of thing. And so people understood gravity and practicality. And you wouldn't stand in front of a wagon screaming. The wagon's going to run you over. But you would know that
Yep.
if you were Little House on the Prairie.
Yep.
And
You're saying life has gotten too easy for these
it got weird and it got too digital and sort of gravity. There's no gravity anymore.
Can we also talk about how the algorithm is feeding this, though? Because
Yeah.
there's that, too. Like, voices like yours or Barry Weiss or Ben Shapiro or Fox, like, they can't break through all the time to these people because of the algorithm is, like, feeding that lady more male hate, more ICE hate,
Yes.
more Trump hate.
Yeah. But here's what I would argue. If you come from the farm, you're much less susceptible to impractical thoughts.
They're going to filter things a little better.
You go, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
Sorry, me talking about Little House on the Prairie. Sorry.
And we took, in the last 10 minutes, everyone, and we put them in a cubicle, and we fired air conditioning at them, and we told them to do data entry on a computer, and we started eating our own brains. I mean, they have studies that say, you know, all the kids on Prozac and all the meds and stuff, hiking and classical music work better than all the serotonin reuptake inhibitors you can ingest. So we're having... You watch, you know, Little House on the Prairie, no one was depressed. Everyone was miserable, but no one was depressed.
All right.
So
Little House on the Prairie reference. And then a lot of
I like
people
it.
would tweet me and they go, that was a made up story, you know. I'm like, yeah, I know. I watched it on TV in North Hollywood in 1974.
Congratulations on using serotonin intake inhibitors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
without stumbling on it.
Did a young Adam Carolla think those words would ever come out of your mouth?
Oh, it's not intake, it's uptake.
Uptake, okay.
No, but I sat next to Dr. Drew for so long that I know what Peyronie's
Right,
disease
there you
is,
go.
and I
Along
know what
those-
Dartic's tunic is and stuff. I know it all stuff because he said it all the time.
Along
It's a
those
great
lines,
joke, and that just makes it more better because
More
because
better.
of the serotonin.
My husband and I finished watching the Marcello, what's his last name? That's on SNL that does the really great
yeah.
Sebastian
Mhm.
Manzino like impersonation. And he has a whole thing about how his mother had to escape Cuba at 12 years old because, you know, the government took her house and how they were not allowed to be depressed or have ADD.
Right.
And she was like, oh, if anybody in this house should have depression, it is me.
Yeah, no.
Or your ADD? No, I will give you ADD.
That'll work.
So funny.
All right, one more with the RFK story. Do you have
This
that?
one's great. And I'm going to hop on that plane and try to join you at the Kennedy Center because I want to meet him and see this happen. I want to see the Carolla Kennedy collab.
Well,
And I want to see what he says about your eating habits. We're just going to play this clip. This
All right.
clip is gold. Get ready.
Who has the most unhinged eating habits?
The president. The interesting thing about the president is that he eats really bad food, which is McDonald's, and then, candy and Diet Coke. But he drinks the Diet Coke all times. He has the constitution of a deity. I don't know how he's alive, but he is. And he's at Mar-a-Lago. He says that the only time that he eats the junk food is when he's on the road, and he wants to eat food from big corporations because he trusts it. He doesn't want to get sick when he's on the road. But when he's at Mar-a-Lago or at the White House, he's eating really good food. So I think you get this, if you travel with him, you get this idea that he's just pumping himself full of poison all day long, and you don't know how he's walking around, much less being the most energetic person, any of us have ever met.
Well, a bunch of stuff. Kennedy is not going to be joining me in D.C. His people reached out, said he wanted to be a part of it, and then said now there's something, came up with the schedule and whatever. I know, but we'll
Do
talk.
you need me to stand in?
We'll get him on. He's a very honest guy, and he's not a politician, so he doesn't do the bullshit politician spin on everything. He does the honest answer on everything.
That's how he really feels about Trump's diet.
But also, look, if you have a motor, everyone always talks, people all the time, they go, I had red meat, and then I got really tired after I ate the red meat. If you have a motor, what Trump does is Trump wants to get stuff done all the time in a hurry, and that gets him up, and it keeps him up, and it moves him. I remember one time I was doing a big remod, and I was so into it and so hands-on and so motivated that I just sprung out of bed, literally every morning early. Now, I like to sleep in and I like to relax like everyone else, but I had something to do that was motivating me. And the same thing as other people who have nothing to motivate them, they're tired all the time. So it's not just about sort of blood sugar or eating fast food. It's more about your brain. Are you whipped?
He's just geared different.
Are you geared and are you motivated? All right, Secretary Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary, is going to join me right after this. Homes.com. Some might say Homes.com is the best home shopping site. Maybe Homes.com's super comprehensive and transparent agent directory. Or maybe it's at Homes.com is the only site that always directly connects you with the listing agent who knows the home the best. Perhaps it's because Homes.com has the most in-depth neighborhood content of any home shopping site that's extensively researched to highlight the personality of each neighborhood. Homes.com, well, they go above and beyond to bring home shoppers the in-depth info they need to find the right home. So if you're looking, look no further than Homes.com. Homes.com. That's Homes.com. We've done your homework. O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. They offer friendly, helpful service and all the knowledge you need. If you can't figure out why your car's having an issue, well, O'Reilly is where you go first. They have thousands of parts in stock and can test your battery for free. Need wipers, brake lights, or a quick fix? They'll get you the right part right away. Everyone who works there is knowledgeable and friendly. The professional parts people at O'Reilly are your one-stop shop for DIY auto stuff in-store or online. So if you need stuff and you like turning wrenches and you're like me, then you go to O'Reilly. Always have, still do. It's O'Reilly Auto Parts, right, Dawson?
Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit them online at O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam.
Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy has joined me from D.C. Good to see you, Sean.
Adam, good to see you too. Thanks for having me on.
I was alerted that you were on MTV the same time I was on MTV in the late 90s, which kind of blew my mind.
But just not as famous as you, not as funny as you. Yeah, so I did the Real World Boston, which was in 1997, did a Real World Challenge the year after. Actually, this is my claim to fame, Adam. I met, my wife did the Real World San Francisco season, and we met on a special, so we were the first reality TV couple. We have our actually meeting on tape, and we have 9 kids. We're the most productive.
Wow, 9 kids.
Yeah.
I miss those times, I think. I mean, I'm trying to think. Well, I think the 0 kids is a problem that we're having right.
That is a problem.
Right now. So tell me exactly, just work. I have a lot of thoughts about transportation, but for you, what's your biggest problem and work in order of sort of importance? Like, is it air travel, airports, air traffic controllers? Is that kind of the big thing on your plate?
So I haven't answered this question probably in 8 months. So probably number 1, 2, and 3, maybe even 4, is modernizing, fixing our air traffic control system. So, and I'll come to the others in a second, but you've probably seen some of this, your viewers and listeners have seen it as well. We have a system that dates back to equipment from the 70s, 80s, 90s. So, if you think back to the 80s and the little copper wire that we used for our handheld, our phones, right? We had the corded phones before even the cordless. That's the system we use to transmit data. So we have to move from analog to digital, copper to fiber. It's a lot of companies already did this, a decade ago. We're just doing this right now. Our radar date back, to I think our newest model is from 1983. So we're going to build and buy new radar, new radios for air traffic controllers. But I need $31.5 billion. The Congress gave me only $12.5 billion. I think we're going to get the rest. But the real sweet spot is you need new software to navigate what is already a busy airspace. It's going to only get busier. And then have you seen these eVTOLs? These the Ubers in the air that are the pods that'll take people from one location to the other. That's going to make the airspace more complicated. We have drones now that are coming to deliver your Uber Eats or your coffee or a 3 to 5 pound package from the drugstore or Walmart. So that complication means we need new software. That's going to take us some time to develop and deploy. I need resources for that. But that is the number one issue. I mean, making sure people are safe and there's more efficiency in the airspace so there's less delay. So that's number one. I'm also pushing, again, the autonomous vehicles, right? I think the world's going to change in the way that cars move. That technology is important. China is doing incredibly well with their technology. We have to have an environment where America can evolve, innovate, and deploy this new technology. And again, the eVTOLs, like I mentioned, drones, important. This is the directive from the president, we want to build roads. Adam, we spend so much money on our roads and bridges. And sometimes you look around like, where in the hell did the money go? Like who spent this money? So, right? So I'm trying to do all I can to spend the money as efficiently as possible to give a better return for the American people. And a lot of it's wasted. So we're trying to streamline the regulatory process so we can build more and build faster.
Well, the autonomous cars, the self-driving and whatever, I think people have some sort of thought like human beings would be more accurate or make less mistakes or something. Obviously, statistically, that's not true. We're having to take an older generation who wants to feel a steering wheel, and we're in the middle of sort of transitioning into the next generation who'll be fine sitting in the back of a car with no driver. It's hard to get old guys to be comfortable with that because but that's always been true. I mean, they're guys that probably didn't want to get off a horse and get into a Model T. So it's always a generational thing. It'll be easy, but for me, I'm in Los Angeles. The amount of people in Los Angeles who are unaware that you can turn right on a red when there's no traffic coming is incredible. So I find myself sitting in the right lane. The cars are backed up. The person at the front of the queue doesn't know it's okay to turn right. We could all get on with our life. An autonomous self-driving car would know that. And thus we wouldn't have all of the sort of driver error delay. I mean, if you think about traffic, if you picture a roller coaster has 25 cars on it, and they're all 18 inches apart, and they move at 60 miles an hour, but in unison. And then we have one person who's texting at a red light and doesn't know it's time to turn, holding up the rest of the roller coaster cars. Get rid of that aspect of it, and then you don't have to widen the freeways or build a second story on the 405. Everyone is moving. Just the zipper. People don't even know the zipper move. People, especially in LA, just have no idea how to drive, and we never try to help them. We never say use your signal or turn right on a red. We never do that. We just say slow down, click it or ticket.
Or people will drive by them, flip them off, or honk their horns. Then we have road rage and a whole bunch of problems that evolve from that. But first of all, I'm like you are. I'm of a generation that I want to drive my car. I like my hands on the wheel. There's a sense of freedom in our generation maybe that we have from vehicles, which, by the way, you hear these stats. I couldn't wait to get my driver's license. These new younger kids, sometimes they're 17, 18, 20 years old. They don't have a driver's license. They take Uber. And I'm like, I couldn't wait to get my driver's license because of the freedom that came along with it. So yeah, there's a generational divide here, Adam, that I think we have. And but to your point, you're right. If you look at congestion and what technology is going to do to reduce congestion, not by building, again, more roads or a second 405 on top of the 405, you're going to be able to put cars closer together and move them more systematically across the roadways because technology is going to help space them and move them in more traffic and flow and the same infrastructure that we have right now. But we're not there yet, and we do have a lot of congestion issues across the country.
And I never really thought about it, but obviously going back 100 years in this country, you had almost nothing in the air. You had a biplane that was dropping off mail. That was about it. And now you have a million Southwest flights and commercial flights, and then there's private stuff, and then the drone thing. I mean, and the personal transportation sort of drone stuff. The skies are going to get really congested in the next 20 years, I would imagine, and we're going to have to keep track of all that.
There, I think you're going to see, 5 and 10%, 20% increases as we just look out into the next decade. We're going to see substantial growth. But it's in the U.S., we have the most complicated airspace. Nobody in the world has an airspace like ours because of our airlines, but also general aviation. A ton of those planes are in the air, and then the new innovation as well. And I think our government, meaning me in government, we owe it to the American people to think through the big problems that we have and try to resolve them to make people's lives better. And what we're trying to do with air traffic control, again, we're controlling airplanes, and we need to update and upgrade a system. It's not the easiest thing to do. So what's happened is it should have been done, 20 years ago. But instead, one person passes it to the next, and they say they have a plan, they say they have money, but they actually don't do anything to fix it. And we find ourselves, I don't know if you recall this, in Newark, we lost communication for 45 seconds. We lost air traffic control communication with airplanes. That's a bad thing, right? Now, the pilots are well trained. Everyone, goes into a hold. They know what to do. But that happened twice because we didn't have the right connectivity. We had old lines that weren't working correctly. So it can become dangerous if you, and again, it's safe now, but if I look out 10 years, it's not going to be safe. And so I think we should do what we can to say, hey, I want you to be less delayed. I want your flight to be faster. Again, it used to be faster to fly from Chicago to Dallas 30 years ago than it is today. Not because airplanes flew faster then. It's because of all the patterns we have to fly and how we're navigating traffic. With a new air traffic control system, you can make it really efficient to use the same airspace, but put more aircraft into it. And so, again, that nobody has a system like ours. Again, Europe doesn't have it. Asia doesn't have it. No one has as many aircraft as we do. We have to think differently about how we manage our airspace. And there's nothing off the shelf I can take from Taiwan or from Europe and say we could use this here. It doesn't exist because we're so unique.
Is this a safe statement to say? Your predecessor, Pete Buttigieg, was talking about racist bridges, and that everyone who Biden nominated, and Biden himself and Kamala Harris, they were constantly talking about feelings and people who felt lesser than or didn't have a seat at the table or women of color or something. But I never heard a lot of brass tacks talk. Like Trump himself and then everybody he's nominated and put into place, is always just talking about systems, percentages, better, faster. I don't hear any feelings talk, which I'm very happy about. I didn't hear, like, Trump talks like a commercial builder. You know, he wants to go fast, he wants to talk numbers, he wants to talk engineering. And I noticed that everybody in his cabinet seems to have adopted that kind of nuts and bolts. We don't want to get mired down talking about good vibes and feelings all the time, which is all I heard from Biden and Kamala Harris. I did not, and Pete Buttigieg, I didn't hear what the plan was. It was just a lot of, you know, people of color need a seat at the table. And I was like, yeah, but what is the plan? Do you feel, is that a safe statement with the Trump cabinet that everyone has just adopted the nuts and bolts approach?
That is completely accurate. The president knows he has now 3 years left. He wants to do as much as possible to accomplish his agenda and his goals, which means, you know what, for us, we're going to build fast. And you talked about feelings. You're exactly right. I mean, racist roads and everything was about race and DEI and disadvantaged businesses, and that's fine. But the time it would take for compliance for people who want to build, or the cost increases that this put on the system, which means, again, we're trillions of dollars short in building out our infrastructure, and you're taking already money that you're short on and using it to focus on the feelings or these social priorities, as opposed to, listen, I don't get involved in the politics. I look at California, I look at New York. I don't like their politics. I'm not a fan of the politics of these two states, but it's American infrastructure. Republicans and Democrats use the roads and bridges, and so let's use the money as well as possible. Another thing they did, I mean, I think that we should have a federal priority. And again, the Congress can send money to me to spend it on what they want, and I have to do that. I respect them. But if I have discretionary money, why am I building bike paths or bike trails or walking paths in some community in some part of the country? I think that, again, if your state wants to do that or your community wants to do that, I'm fine with that. That's great. You guys should fund that. But we should spend our money on the big projects that the states and the counties can't, they can't fund that themselves. So let's do the big projects that move people, move products more effectively through the system. But if we spend all the money on the bike lanes and the bike paths and the walking paths, that's a road or a bridge or a freeway we don't complete.
Well, California is idealistic. And so they have a lot of ideas, and the ideas are very simple and they're sort of noble, but they never work. So we say, look, we should have judgment-free zones in San Francisco where people could shoot up drugs without being judged. And you're like, okay, you can try that, but it always turns into a shit show. It never works. And we're going to have a lane, and we're going to go on road diets, and we'll have a lane where people can ride their bicycles to work like they do in Europe and in Amsterdam. Okay, but it never works. People live in Simi Valley, and they work in downtown L.A., and there's some version of life and community that lives in their head, but it doesn't work practically, and they implement it, and then they get into trouble. So we're building a bullet train because in Europe they have bullet trains, and we love the notion of whatever Europe is doing. They must be so much better than what we're doing, and we fly these dirty old airplanes, but they have bullet trains, and everyone's happy there, and they ride their bikes to the bullet train, and they get where they need to go with the bullet train. So in California, we want a bullet train. And we decide to build a bullet train, but now the problem. Somebody has to build the bullet train, and that's not the part they worked out. They worked out the artist's rendition of the bullet train, making its way through wine country at 300 miles an hour while people with bicycles got ready to get on at the next stop. But that's never what it turns into, because they cannot achieve their dreams, because their dreams are pie in the sky. and they can't execute anything because they don't have any experience executing anything. They're not builders. They never come from the private sector. They're professional politicians who sit on their ass and dream all day and never get anything done. So thus, we have a bullet train that goes from Bakersfield to Merced. And, you know, if people listening don't know where that is, I don't blame you, because I live in California and I barely know where that is. Nobody would ever utilize a train to get from one of those spots to the other. It's 100 miles. You can drive it in your SUV and make it faster. And now we're billions of dollars into this dream because we think we're California and we have to lead the way.
So first off, I love what you just said. You're absolutely right. I'm going to get to the bullet train in a second, but liberals don't build they seem to destroy things.
Yes.
Right? They don't, and but I'm going to get to this in a second, but they're supposed to be the party of government, right? They love government, they love to use government, they want bigger government, they want more of it, they want it involved in every aspect of our life. So you'd think they would be professionals at running good government. And the truth is that could be further from the truth. So the bullet train, I'm not opposed to high-speed rail. I actually think we should have high-speed rail in America. It's a good thing. In California, this was going to be a $33 billion project. I'm going off my memory now, Adam. It's going to be a $130 billion project. It can't be built. It can't be funded. Over 15 years, they've spent a little over $15 billion. Not one high-speed rail track was laid. I think there was a lot of grift in this project. I think a lot of people were making money and they weren't actually moving towards building the train. And so we gave federal money to that project. We cut it. We canceled it. We are not going to fund a train that will never be built. And by the way, you said it was Bakersfield to Merced. It was supposed to be from LA to San Francisco, but that was too long and too much for them. So they actually truncated it and made it from two places that people don't really travel in California.
Pluto TV has thousands of free movies and TV shows.
What? This is the mindset. Free. This is the mantra. Free. This is the mindset.
With movies like Joe Dirt, Pixels, and 50 First Dates. This is awesome. And TV shows like Survivor, SpongeBob SquarePants, The Fairly Odd Parents, and Ghosts. Pluto TV is always free.
Huzzah!
Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
You're welcome.
But I keep asking, even my Democrat friends, I mean, could you help me speak liberalism? So look at trains, not high-speed rail, but transit systems. Adam, whether it's in New York or in North Carolina or Chicago, you have dirty, filthy trains that are homes for the most violent element in our society, and we pay for them, and I'm supposed to get on a train. I would never put my daughter on the MTA, the New York City subway, at 7 o'clock at night and send her through any stops because it's not safe. If you believe in trains and you don't like cars, you and I like cars, they don't like cars, they want us all on public transit, it should be the most beautiful, safe system that you could ever, it should be European.
Right.
In the way you deliver that asset to the American people, and they deliver crap, violent, and people are forced to ride it. But if you believe in government, show that you can actually manage these projects and run them well so people actually want to use them. But instead, you make a homeless shelter, and you have people who are getting, whether they're getting stabbed, they're getting robbed, they're getting pushed, onto the tracks. That's not the way it should be. And so I get frustrated because, and even when we build projects, I mentioned, we're focused on DEI, we're focused on a whole bunch of things that don't actually make life better for the people who pay taxes and give it to, whether it's the local or state or federal government, to actually make improvements. So my life, I get more time back. I get a better experience with my federal government. Airports are the same thing. We should do if you ever fly through other parts of the world, beautiful airports. We have an old infrastructure, and we're going to work on that. How do we upgrade our airports across the country? We oversee them, but I don't manage them. But we could do a way better job in America in transportation. And part of the problem is Democrats say they want one thing, and they promise one thing. I think you said the bullet train through Napa Valley is beautiful, but what the deliverable is garbage, and people don't get what they bargained for with the government when they're liberals in charge.
But the question is it dead in the water now that the federal funding has ceased?
So it's dead in the water per DOT's perspective. But if California can come up with another $100 billion and build a project on the backs of the California taxpayer, they have every right to do that. They can build it. But the federal taxpayer is not going to fund this project. And Adam, it's not going to be built. I don't see a pathway forward that it would be built in the next 10 years. And I don't think they even match the number of $130 billion that it's estimated to cost right now. Again, a really bad project run by, I think, bad politicians.
Well, what people don't realize is everything is so much more expensive to build in California because it's so regulated. And I think people, when they think about business or building, and they think about building costs, they think about the cost of materials and cement and plywood and steel. But it's really about the regulations. It's about what they'll let you do. And the regulations in California are such that it makes it impractical to build things. Everything is 10 times more expensive to build here. If anyone doesn't believe me, go online and try to order certain items and that'll ship to any other state. And they go, we won't ship to California. It's illegal in California. You can't use tempered glass. You have to use laminated glass for your glass railings. Safe for every other state, but California won't let you do it. And guess what? The stuff they will ship is more expensive. And it's just that. It's why Malibu's not being rebuilt right now. It's why most of the fire victims have not begun to rebuild their homes. It's not the cost of plywood or the cost of cement. It's the cost of over-regulation, which is what California does because they're all about government. They love the government, and so they just keep making regulations. They never do anything. They can't build a bullet train, and they can't rebuild a house in Malibu. Well, what they can do is make a bunch of regulations that prevent you from doing it.
It's reminiscent of the old Soviet Union. This is what you get. So you can't comply with all the rules and regulations, and the cost goes up. Listen, and not only the cost of building, if you can build, but the tax cost, the tax burden on productive people in California, which is what the exodus from the state is. It's a beautiful state. It's an amazing place, which is why people move there and want to live there. But it's why, good businesses who love the state are like, we can't be here anymore. Like, I could save 10 or 15% off the bottom line if I just go to Texas. People are packing up and leaving for that very reason, which is, by the way, I'm surprised, Adam, you're still there. I don't know when you're packing up and moving, but you are a trooper, man. You're like, you're a believer. You're staying in California. But it's hard, man. And it doesn't have to be that way. It could be an amazing place that is a home for new investment and innovation and growth, which it used to be that way. But again, when the crazies take over, these are the stupid policies that you get because government always knows better than you for your family or for your business or for your work, for the car you can buy, the kind of energy that you can use. Government and liberals always think they know better than the individual.
What is the plan? I know there's another controversy with California and Gavin Newsom about the truckers' licenses, that they've issued so many truckers' licenses, and these are big rig truckers. We've seen the stories, the deaths on the highway, that people can't read, can't speak English, can't read the freeway signs and the highway signs. He handed out a lot of these. We're trying to get it back. Catch us up on that story.
Yeah. So first off, the rules that we're using here are rules that date back decades. So these are not new DOT rules. They've been on the books for a long time. They just weren't effectively being enforced. So you have to be proficient in the English language to be a commercial driver. No one was really enforcing that law. We said, no, we're going to enforce this. It's a safety issue on American roadways. Every state has been willing to, at some level, comply with saying, okay, if there's not a proficiency, we'll take those drivers out. All but one state. California and Gavin Newsom said, you know what? No, we're okay with drivers not being able to speak the language. So you think there's a crash, first responders come, you need to know what the big rig is carrying, right? What does the 18-wheeler have on board?
Right.
So you can have an effective response. Or if law enforcement needs to talk in a car crash with the driver, they got to speak English. So there's safety reasons behind why we do it. So Gavin said, no, I'm not going to do that. We pulled $40 billion from him. But what's even, I think, more egregious is Joe Biden let in, I don't know the number, is it 10 million, 15, 20 million illegals come in over the border. When they came, Adam, he gave all of them basically work permits. So those who came across the border who we didn't vet, they went to states around the country and with those work permits said, I want to get a commercial driver's license. And many of the states issued commercial driver's licenses to these people who came across the border, who, by the way, went to a sham CDL school. So they're not well trained. They're not trained at all sometimes. They can't speak the language. They get a driver's license. It's called a non-domiciled CDL. And they start driving these rigs across the country. And the problem is they are completely unqualified. And so, and by the way, they're illegally issued as well. So if I have a work permit for 1 year, you can't give a commercial driver's license that lasts longer than my work authorization. And if I'm illegal in the country, I have no work permit, I can't get a commercial driver's license. In California and some other states, we're giving driver's licenses, commercial driver's licenses out like candy. Every state has worked with us to try to come into compliance on making sure these licenses are properly issued. All but one. California said, no, we're not going to do that. There's about 20,000 drivers that should have the licenses pulled. California said, no, we're not going to do that. So we pulled almost $160 million from the state of California. And the problem, Adam, is if you license someone as a truck driver in California, they just don't drive in California. They drive all across the country.
Well,
so
they drive in Florida. Those people got killed in Florida.
When you drive everywhere, again, you endanger everyone's life. And you would think that Gavin would put the lives of the American people, or at least Californians, ahead of these people who come into the country unlawfully or they have a work permit. But you would say, I want to do things better to make sure we have safer roads. And he's completely rejected that. At one point, we can get to a place where we can pull California's ability to actually even issue a commercial driver's license. I don't want to do that. I don't want to fight with Gavin Newsom. That doesn't give me, that's not my job. My job is to make sure people are safe when they travel, whether Democrats or Republicans, I don't care. Everyone should be safe. And so I want them to comply, but I don't speak liberal, so I don't know why he wouldn't. I don't get it.
You know, look, we're in a strange time where Gavin Newsom doesn't have anything to run on. He's got a bullet train that's not half finished. It's going to get mothballed. He has a homeless problem. He has $5.50 gasoline and illegals driving semi-trucks. So he's not going to run on that. What he's running on is doing battle with Trump. So if Trump asked him for anything, if Trump offered anything, he'd say no. When Trump said we're going to send a hospital ship into the LA harbor, LA said get lost. Now, I don't know what they have against the hospital ship during COVID. They were the ones saying COVID was killing everybody and we're running out of hospital beds. But they still turn away a hospital ship, not because they care, it's because they hated Trump. So whatever, Newsom doesn't even know what he's doing. He's essentially like, if you take a dog and you give a dog a rope toy and you grab one end and the dog grabs the other, the dog pulls backwards. But the dog's not going any direction. The dog's pulling. And if you turn around, the dog will pull the direction you were pulling 10 seconds ago. All the dog is doing the opposite of what you're doing. And that's what Gavin Newsom and many other politicians do when you bring up, criminal illegals being deported or whatever it is. They're just doing the opposite of what Trump is doing, which is really stupid because they look foolish along the way. So all Gavin Newsom is reacting. Meanwhile, anyone who lives in California is suffering because Newsom is doing battle with Trump and we're getting federal funds held up that we could use, but Newsom's got too much pride to take this money that he needs, and he has a deficit as well.
You made a really good point. You're absolutely right. You have these liberal politicians, especially those that want to run for president, and they think they're learning from Trump to say, I need to fight at every single turn. And Trump's a fighter. I mean, he is a remarkable fighter, and it's interesting to watch him operate. But if they truly paid attention to Trump, you would note that he's in the friend business. He tries to have Mandami. He brought Mandami from New York City, the new socialist mayor, to the Oval Office. Mandami says they text back and forth, which is true. Trump uses his phone all the time. He's not just in the business to fight. He's in the business to get results. And if he disagrees, he will fight you. He will push back on you. But he looks for points of agreement where you can work together and improve the lives of the people that he serves, President Trump, America. And Gavin Newsom hasn't actually seen the brilliance of Trump, which is, again, this is not about, let's not worry about fighting. Let's not fight. Let's actually find points of agreement. And on the things we can agree on, we can argue and fight and tweet at each other. But Gavin doesn't do that. He wants to fight on everything. And I don't think that's the best strategy to win the presidential race. I don't. I think that's a pathway to destruction. But he did a debate, Gavin Newsom, and I think it was Ron DeSantis on Sean Hannity's show. God, it must have been a year and a half ago. And I tuned in for it. I thought it was going to be, WWE, scrapping, and Ron was going to destroy Gavin Newsom. I was shocked at how well Gavin Newsom did in that debate on Hannity's show. Talking, I would have thought California's a great place to live. He's an effective, he's a politician. He doesn't get results, but he can talk about California in a way that's not true and sell it. If people buy that lie when he runs in 2028, God help America if America turns into California.
Yeah, he came into this podcast many years ago and did the same thing for an hour, but I didn't let him get away with it. You can listen to it if you like. It's enjoyable. Yeah, it's interesting because you said he says things about California that aren't true, which is probably correct, but he does pick and choose his little statistical truths to try to make a point. I would say he talks about California in a way nobody who lives here experiences. You can talk about we're the fourth largest economy. Yeah, but no one here experiences the California he's talking about, this thing where we're on the vanguard and we're leading the way to the future. No, we just experience homelessness, garbage everywhere. It's disgusting, by the way, LA especially. It's graffiti and garbage everywhere, trash everywhere, super high gas prices and a bad school system and a lot of taxes and bad roads, by the way, filled with potholes. Oh, one more thing for you, Secretary Sean Duffy. And this is a real thing, and I think people think I'm insane and are obsessed, but I am not. California has a network of freeway electronic signs that must cost millions of dollars. They're every mile and a half, and they're supposed to convey information. I just got back from Denver. I'm driving around. I got information on snow and expect icy roads and useful things. All ours say is click it or ticket. All ours say is put the seatbelt on. It's been the same thing for 25 years. We could get hold of these signs and we could say, use your blinker or inflate your tires. We could pass tons of information on. There is no attempt at it. It's never been done. It says click it or ticket. That's all it says. I need to be in charge of those signs. And I need to be the electric sign czar of Los Angeles and California. And I think you could put me in that position.
I think I could. You could do a public service announcement in California. You could say, you can turn right on red.
Yes.
And that you wouldn't have to honk at them. You wouldn't have the guy at the top of the line not turning right. You're like, I'm just kidding. Like, that's a service to fellow travelers. You can turn right on red.
You can use your blinker. I would go, the first year would just be, it's legal to turn right on red. I don't know where you're from, but you can turn right on red. When it's safe, turn right on red. And I would say, use your blinker. It's the law. But no one will use their blinker, and no one will turn right on red. And by the way, the person that won't turn right on red won't use their blinker either, so I don't even honk at them because I think they're going straight. And then the light changes, and then they turn. So they didn't use the blinker or turn right. If you just put me in charge of those signs, I could really clean this up quickly.
I'm going to look at that. Can I create a California sign czar? Adam Carolla is going to be the guy. Problems all over, but you know what? The Trump. You mentioned something unique about President Trump, and I wouldn't say I was in Congress for the first Trump administration. I watched him operate. I loved him from the very beginning. He was unique. He was different. He thought outside the box, but he had never been president before. And didn't have the political acumen, and the left came after him. It was gnarly. You know, he had 4 years and he thought about it. The 4 years of president, the 4 years to think about it. He's come back, and he is a man on a mission. I think he's created a cabinet. Our cabinet actually likes each other. We try to partner with each other. No one's stabbing each other in the back. Everyone's friends. We're trying to work together. And if you want any organization, but especially your government, if you want it to be as effective as possible and get as much done as possible, you need people to work together and to like each other. And he's actually created that environment, which is why I think I think people are seeing, they can complain about him, even the liberals can complain about him, but they do see movements. To your point, it's about nuts and bolts, and it's about putting points on the board. How are we winning for the American people? And I do think this too, even with going back to some of the things that DOJ helped us think through on what kind of systems do we use? Do we use AI in government? How are we doing this? And what we do to reform and restructure the way that government works, when we leave, it's not going to go away. Even if Gavin Newsom was horribly to win the next election, they're going to look at what we've done and they're going to use what we did to make government more effective. Now, they might still be liberals. They may try to use it for leftist policy, but it's going to run better. And we're all working on making our government more responsive to the American people. And that is going to be the gift, I think, that this administration truly pays forward, not just in the next 5 years, but the next 15 and 20 years.
Well said, Sean Duffy. It was great to see you. Give my love
you as well, Adam.
To Trump. Always a fan. And I hope to catch up with you soon. I'll be in D.C. at the end of the month doing the show at the Trump Kennedy Center. So, and I think Harmeet Dillon is going to come by. She's texted me. So if you...
I can't wait to see where my tickets. I would love to come and see you at the Trump Kennedy Center. And again, hilarious. And stop by DOT and we can maybe work on that deal for the Signs Are California.
I'll take you up on it. And yeah, I'll send a text to Harmeet and I'll tell her to hit you and I'll get you some comps and come on out and say hi.
She's awesome. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Secretary Duffy. All right. Me, tomorrow, Grant Pass, Oregon at the Rogue Theater, and then Saturday, Bend, Oregon. Midtown Ballroom, and then off to New York, Rodney's, and then heading off with Megyn Kelly on the 30th, and then D.C., Kennedy Center, 31st. Hopefully Sean will come out, and Harmeet will come out. And until next time, it's Adam Carolla, ELISHA KRAUSS, and Secretary Sean Duffy saying mahalo.